everybody, and thank you for joining this presentation. Today I will show you some use cases which we have with one of our customers where we used Liferay objects, and will you show the positive sides and also the pain points we had while develop this use cases. So, okay. At first, I will go over over the two use cases we implemented with Liferay objects. Afterwards, I will show you some short summary, what we used and what we not used with objects, and at least one comparison between Liferay standard, the old one, and what are the benefits of using objects, and in the end, some pain points we had while development. Okay, the first use case was a question and answer use case. The workflow looks a little bit like this one. A guest user can ask a question on the website, which gets then assigned to a question reviewer, which reviews the question, search an expert who can answer these questions, assign it to the expert in the backend. The experts then have to answer this question and assign it back to the question reviewer, which then publish the question if the answer was okay. What challenges we have here? So one challenge was sending notifications depending on a state, and not only because of the state, also of this automatic state transfer we had to use. Yes, let's go further. So this is a quick overview how our objects look. So in the middle we have the main object, which have all details. On the left side we have a public object because at the end the guest user are only allowed to see some of the informations which are provided for the whole question. So the guest user don't see which person answered this question and other details which are not should be shown to the initial guest user. And on the right side, we see the default driver user object, which handles the whole assign state. How it looks in the front end. So we have created this page with the Liferay board middles, where the guest user can enter the question and some metadata, like where he lives and how old he is. And here you also can select if you want to get answered per email or if the question should be answered on the website. For this, we used Liferay form container because it makes us easy to style this one on the page. And here we could use all default form fields from Liferay except for the Boolean field, because here we needed a link in the description of the Boolean field. This is the only customization we did here. The next view we created is an overview of the questions which are coming in. For this, we used the Liferay search and not the display collection. And this is the reason because Liferay search offers the possibility for category filters, styling the elements from the category filter as well as the search. This was not possible with the display collection filter. You also have not the possibility currently to place a form container in a display collection item. For example, we have this use case here, so the user can assign a question in the list directly to a user. And we have no possibility to switch between different display page templates, because if a question is get answered, you only have at the end a read-only version and not the edit version, which I will show you now. If you open this question, you will have an overview right with some meta information about the questions. As well, the question in the right upper corner. And on the left side, the expert has the possibility to answer this question. Here we also used 80% of the Liferay standard, except two things. And here we have at first we used, the Liferay standard features are, we used a display page template to edit this object, not the backend. And here we have placed the form container. One feature we have to add ourselves was a custom select box for the users, because Liferay offers you with a default relationship to the user object to use the Liferay select box, default Liferay select box, but there you can only select a user ID, which is not really helpful for the customer at all. So here was some customization necessary. And the second one was on the same window, you can, when the editor answers the questions, we have a select box for the state. This have changed the workflow how it was before. Before, the editor could have two buttons with save and publicate or answer this one. This one was not possible in our opinion with the objects currently, because we have some automatic state transfer. So if I publicate this question or answer it, I can update the state with an object action, but then no other object action get be triggered. And this was one big problem we had in the whole workflow. Also, no notifications was triggered if we use an update action, and the notification has a condition with the updated values. So we use object action with Groovy script, because here we have the possibility to do the stuff at once in one Groovy script. Publish a question. The next step, when the expert answers the question is go back to the question reviewer, and this one can afterwards publish the question. One moment. We have one Groovy script which transfers the state, as I told before, because of the if the user select in the first place you want to answer per email, it has another final state. If he selects, you want to get the question answered by the website, and this shouldn't be selected by the user. This should be go automatically, and this was only possible with object actions. And this was the reason why we always also used Groovy script to send notifications instead of the Liferay notifications, because the trigger doesn't work if you updated the current object with Groovy. The second one is we wanted to add the public object which has all information for the guest user who asks the questions. We wanted to use the add object action from Liferay. It works fine, 90% fine, but what we are missing was the categories. So there's currently no possibility to give the categories you selected for the one object to the other object as well, and that's why we also use a Groovy script for this one. Other pain points we have, when you're working with Groovy script and want to update the object, we discussed with Liferay, you don't use the Liferay object service util classes, you should use the REST API. But if you want to use the REST API with a Groovy script, you first have to authenticate yourself again. And for this, you have to create an OAuth administration workflow or application. And there is no one-to-one relationship. It's possible with a one-to-many one for sure, but here we have duplicated content. So, a quick summary, what we used, what we don't use. We used the Liferay search for displaying the objects, because the collection display doesn't fit our needs with the customization, styling. We used the display page template for editing the object, because it's a really simple object. It's not too complex with the relationships, and on a display page template, the editor in the end has better feeling and accept the default Liferay backend for editing and creating objects. We also used some custom fragments. It works really good in combination with objects, and also some information and widget templates. The next point, we used Liferay notifications where it was visible for us. So it really worked fine. You can create your notification template, add the recipient out of the fields from the Liferay object. You can send that the notification is triggered when you add the object. It really works well in some kinds, and we also don't use Liferay notifications because of some automatic state transfer. We have already go back to the Groovy script and send the notifications back again. We also tried to use the Liferay notifications in the Groovy script, but this is a strange thing to do, so it's easy to use the mail message service. And for sure we use object actions. At least we have, you could use the default relationship to the user object from Liferay. It was really helpful. The only thing we have to adapt was the select box because of the names. Okay, let's go to the next use case. The next use case is a little bit more complex. It's about how to organize trainings, like how to print the best way with 3D printers, for example. The workflow looks a little bit like this. So you have a training, printing good with 3D printers. This training could be on different locations. It could be done in Munich, London, it could be online. And for each of this location, you have a single, multiple events, like you have the first event is on the 1st of December in Munich, the second one is on the 7th of December in Munich, and so on. So you have for each training a location, multiple locations, and for each location, multiple events. The complexity in this case was that every training has its own registration form. So for example, in the 3D printer example, I want, for example, a field where a guest user can enter his 3D printer. And another training, you have to enter which laptop you use or something like this. So every form depends on the training course. And the other challenge we have is that we have to send different emails from this registration form. Liferay currently supports only to send one email to a specific email address you give to the form. And there was also the problem of sorting this list of trainings accordingly to the events which are on the nearest time. So because this event is a nested object from the training object which holds all informations, it was really hard to sort these trainings on the upcoming event timestamp. Short overview. I hope you can read it. It's here in the middle. We have I go from left to right. So left we have the activity with the main informations. On the middle you have the locations which are related to this event, and on the right side we have the event with the single dates inside it. And let's give a look to the downside object. The right one is we create an object for the picked list, which is working as a picked list for forms, because you can't currently connect a single form to a Liferay object. And the middle down one is email setting object, which is connected to the event, so you can select for each event other recipients. How it looks like. So this is a little bit the overview of the training. And when you scroll a little bit lower on the page, you see the different locations. And each location can have its own events. It's different time slots. And if you open such a time slot, we have a registration form for which could look for each training differently. Where you enter your informations. So what we used, what we don't use. We used in this case we used Liferay backend and no display page template because of this many relationships. There is currently not a nice way to create this object in a nice user experience on the display page template. You first have to create the first object, then the second one. You have been the second one to select the first created one. It's really not that straightforward without customization. Then again, we use the Liferay search for listing these objects because, as told before, the collection display isn't fit our needs in form of customization and styling. And yeah, we also use display page templates to render the detail forms from the different, and also to render the registration form with some JavaScript addition. The next challenge we had was a connection with the object, forms with the object one. How I told before, we at first create one object which handles, acts like a pick list. We don't use Liferay pick list for this because pick list is only on a global scope, and we needed it for a side scope. So that's the reason why we choose to create a simple object with title and form instance ID. This is one connected, also used with a form storage adapter. So when the form is saved, it gets the information from the two objects and sends the emails to the recipient and the user who enter his email as well. Yeah, the form was rendered on a display page and auto-filling some fields with JavaScript. So summary about it, what we use in this case the Liferay backend, not a display page template. We use the Liferay search, as I told. We also use a storage adapter on the display page template. The display page templates we used on different ways. One for one time for overview of the object, and the second one to render the form. And we also used for visual information templates on this display page template, as well as some custom fragments. Yes. Then we here don't use any Liferay notifications because with the nested object, also deep nested object on 2 level, we don't got the informations we needed. Yes. So, summarize these 2 use cases in once. What do we use with object? We use with objects. We use objects because you can really fast create data structures and models. Instead, you're making it with the old service builder. You have out-of-the-box relationship possibilities to the Liferay default objects and as well to your other created objects. You can use the object notifications. It's in many cases it's really good. In a few edge cases, it's currently wasn't available for us. We mainly use the object agent Groovy script because of and not the other actions. At least we use for the listing with the Liferay search we use blueprints. So we told the blueprint please only show us objects from asset from this object definition type. And for simple objects without nested relationships, we use the form container. What we don't use? Object notifications, because one big issue was that we can't send an email to a group of users in a role or something. This is working with Liferay notifications inside, but not in mails. And as I said, we don't have access to this point to deep nested objects. So the first relationship is working, but when you have multiply related relationships, you don't have access to it. The add object action wasn't good enough for us because of the categories. The object actions, update objects, we don't use because you can't give in any order which update action should trigger first before another one. And the second one is you can trigger another update if you update. Also, if you trigger the first update one, this update doesn't trigger the other updates. At least we don't use the collection display because of the missing customization possibilities. And for complex objects, we don't use the form container currently. Then a short summary, what objects save us. This use cases was implemented all the same in an old 7.2 environment. We have the possibility to build it up from scratch with Liferay objects. And I only compare the lines of code, but the important thing I want to point it out is we don't have any override JSPs anymore. We could all do with HTML, JavaScript, CSS, and some FreeMarker and GroovyScript. Also reduced the line of codes for sure. And in the next use case, it's a little bit more the difference you can see. But also the big difference was no overridings, all in JavaScript, your preferred React applications or, yes. At least some pain points. It was not the easiest way to go to that we get worked this use cases, but it finally worked. But on this road, we have different pain points which I want to address now. The one-to-one relationship is missing. It's a small one, but duplicated content is never good. One of the big issues, there are currently no friendly URLs for objects. I think Liferay is currently working on it, but it's a big SEO feature for what the customer really needs. The relationship is working with the user ID, except with the names. It's creating objects via backend, I already told. No repeatable fields. On this I won't mention. Yes, you can create relationships, for example, to create an extra object for documents, which you only have a document in it. But I think this is a little bit overview, and you also have no nice UI currently where you can upload, for example, multiple documents at once to an object. The object actions. To add new object was not possible with the categories. I know I'm repeating, but another big one is trigger another update automatic state transfer. This was the biggest pain, I would say, we had. Then no ordering of actions by update. And you have to explicitly add some OAuth application to use the REST API to update your object. For the object notifications, you can select roles or user groups to send on emails. And you don't have easily access to deep nested fields in this object area. At least the form container, there are some small issues as well, which we find. So you can't pre-fill the field from another form on a display page, for example. If you render your object and place this registration form, you can pre-fill this field with some information out of this object. You are not able to editing related object in one form container. You have to split it up, maybe through pagination or something. And you're not able to place a form container in a collection display. But nevertheless, this was pain point. I can really say, if you have the possibility, try to think about use Liferay object. I think it's the way to go. We are really happy with it. Now, we have our difficulties, but yeah, I think it's a really good way Liferay goes here. Yeah, if you have any questions to this topic, you can come to our stand to YouTube and discuss some of these topics with us.